Very interesting fight at light heavyweight. We have our second UFC debut out of two. There's only two of them on this card. New Zealand's own Carlos Ulberg taking on Kennedy Nzechukwu. And Matt, for Nzechukwu, a guy that was on Contender Series a couple of different times, finally earned his contract, and in his UFC debut, took on, well, a ranked fighter. He took on Paul Craig. It didn't go all that well for him. Took some time off, recuperated, and he took on Darko Stosic. And Matt, if I know anything from doing this for almost 3 years now with Fight Night Picks, it's that people from Europe are very, very sensitive about Darko Stosic. And picking anybody to beat Stosic, you're going to be in a bad spot. Well, let me tell you this. Darko Stosic gave that fight away. In the second round, he kicked Kennedy in the nuts. In the third round, he kicked him in the nuts. And he probably, well, he would have won the fight if he didn't have 2-point deductions for nut kicks. And actually, the reason why the 2 points were deducted, well, he had one before in the fight. He just kept kicking him in the nuts. That's the problem. Kennedy Nzechukwu is one of the biggest light heavyweights you're ever going to see. I mean, you look at him, 6'5", 83 inches of reach. And he has one thing in common, and it's a cop-out. It really is. I could compare him to any other light heavyweight in the world. But I will compare him to John Jones because he's so tall and he's so long. And he holds his lead hand out there because he's a southpaw. He holds it out with his fingers out to try and control distance. But then he doesn't really do anything with it. And that's pretty much the MO in Kennedy Nzechukwu. The thing that I don't love about him, I mean, listen, he comes out of Fortis MMA, is that when he gets into spots, you hear Saif Saud yelling just different things to do, and Kennedy doesn't really do them. I mean, there was one point in the Stosic fight, he yelled for an underhook and for him to kind of shove him, and it took a while, and he did it, and it was good. But you hear Saif yelling out of the corner, throw a leg kick, throw a counter, throw something, and he just doesn't do a whole lot. And the trouble was, you watch his first fight on Contender Series, well, it's a win. And then you watch his second fight, and he's taking on Dennis Bryant. And the commentary team says something absolutely absurd. They say, we have to see the killer instinct out of him, because if we don't, it's going to be a problem. He throws a head kick at Dennis Bryant, and then throws a punch down. And it's more of like a hammer shot. But he throws it and hits Bryant right on the back of the head. He had Bryant pretty much dead to rights. What does he do? Backs off and goes, no, it was my fault. I hit him to the back of the head. And the referee says, keep going. Don't do that. Just keep going. Just keep going, Cody. Oh my gosh. It's just frustrating. He's fighting Carlos Ulberg, who is A, male model, B, was supposed to be on The Bachelor down in the Anzac region called Game of Bros. Wasn't on it. He's a pro kickboxer with an extensive kickboxing record, and he fought one of my bugaboos, one of my personal guys that you might watch Fight Night Picks and you know, like, I'm a Jan guy. You know that I'm a Cyril Gane guy. I've been following Askar Askarov forever.
I'm a Jan guy. I'm a Gane guy. That's going to be a rap verse one day.
If you know anything about Craig Aalon, well, Matt, I had to write this down in my notes. I'll show you when I find it. Oh, it's right there. He fought the Honey Bear. He fought my guy Jake Hune, and it was with EM Legend Fights in China. They had a kickboxing match, and he finished him in the third round, knocked him down twice. It was amazing. You know, the Honey Bear from Ryzen. But it's great. Carlos Ulberg, truly, he's 5-0. That's the other thing. Every other site, Sherdog, Tapology, all of the sites, I think even MMA Form Guide, all have him as 3-0. ESPN and UFC have him as 5-0 now. He had 2 fights in the regional scene in 2013 that a lot of them don't count. But he is 5-0. I know a lot of people are going to dispute his record down in the comment section, so let me kind of back myself up there. This guy's coming out of City Kickboxing, 7th fighter out of City Kickboxing in the UFC.
They're all right down there.
Knocked out Bruno Oliveira, who I thought of as a very good prospect. Even though he's older, very good prospect. And the trouble was, Bruno pre-fight talked about, well, I want to knock this guy out, and I'm going to outbox him. And he goes in there and doesn't throw any kicks, goes boxing, and gets knocked out. So for Carlos Ulberg, very good striking. Definitely has the killer instinct, and one of those guys that, again, whether he's 3-0 on the sites you're on or he's truly is 5-0, it's a weird ceiling because he's already 30. The clock's ticking.
Oh, it definitely is, but I don't think this is going to be our Jacob Malkoun situation where a guy comes in and you're like, oh, well, he trains with good fighters, so I'm sure he's good himself. Carlos Ulberg, his pure kickboxing is absurd. And in MMA especially, he's going to give a lot of guys trouble on the feet. And this is one of those classic stylistic matchups. Let's be honest, the UFC loves city kickboxing. You know what's really good for the UFC? Is city kickboxing guys keep on winning. Carlos Ulberg it's not an underhand toss of an opponent because Nzechukwu is such a powerful guy, and if he does catch you, he can put you away, but you really set this fight up perfectly. There's a lack of volume. He does get a little bit wild on the feet, and against a guy who is as crisp as Ulberg...
No. He doesn't get wild at all.
Well, you have to throw, I guess. And for Nzechukwu, if you are just standing there with your hand out, you're going to be biting on feints. And this is what I'm going to talk about this a lot in the main event. City kickboxing, everyone does it. They throw a ton of feints at you. And what they really like to do is they wait to figure out how you're defending each and every one of your strikes. And then they will pick apart sort of the holes in your defense. Nzechukwu is going to bite on those feints. And Ulberg's going to have Adesanya there all week long to help him with his game plan. It's just one of those fights that, listen, Ulberg, you look, he doesn't have the experience edge. He doesn't have maybe the most well-rounded MMA game, but when you just feed him MMA strikers for the most part, he is going to be able to beat them. At light heavyweight, listen, if he goes out there and fights, let's say, to bring up Jimmy Crute again, let's say he fights Jimmy Crute. Jimmy Crute's going to single leg him, take him down, and probably head and arm choke him. But when you do give him those guys who are happy to stand on the outside of them, maybe a Khalil Roundtree, I guess that didn't work out for Gokhan Saki, but those guys who we are expecting to go out there and strike, you're going to expect Carlos Ulberg to win them.
And for Carlos Ulberg, even in my notes, I had good feints, good head movement, check left hook, left, right, knockout. That was how he was able to do it against Oliveira. For Kennedy, the problem that I have, for such a long guy, he doesn't throw a lot of leg kicks, and you'd think he'd kind of keep his head back, toss in some leg kicks, and really chop down some of these guys, because he's always going to have a reach advantage. But by percentage, in terms of leg kicks, 4% of his strikes against Stosic, leg kicks, 0% against Paul Craig, 5% against Bryant, and then in his fight against Berzin in his Dana White's Contender Series debut, which was a split decision win, he threw none. I don't necessarily love that. Again, the key to the fight against Stosic was the repeated kicks to the nuts, and Kennedy said it himself after the fight when he was interviewed. You know, he didn't think it was a good performance. He didn't really think he was deserving the win. The weird thing is, he's been out for a long time. He's been out for about a year and a half, so maybe, I cross my fingers, Kennedy's added some wrinkles to his game, because this is a guy that I'd like to see make moves at light heavyweight. You can see physically, from the height, from the reach, from the stance, he has the tools. It's just bringing him into practice, and I don't love it when the commentary team goes, well, you know, behind closed doors, we were talking about, he's got to start striking, he's got to start landing. And you can't say that you're sorry for hitting a guy to the back of the head in a fight. Don't do that, Kennedy. So for me, I like Kennedy and Nzechukwu as a fighter. I want to see him succeed. I think it's Ulberg's fight to lose, because if this is a pure kickboxing fight, Ulberg should win it 9 times out of 10. I haven't seen much of a ground game out of Nzechukwu. So for me, it's Ulberg. I look at the Tapology votes. 74% of 1,236 total votes are for Ulberg. There's a large percentage, 76%, that are saying that he's going to win by knockout. For Paul Craig, he submitted Kennedy in that fight. And then if you have a look at the odds, Matt, Ulberg open to -172. He's now -242. For Nzechukwu, open +144. He's now at a +194. So the money's on Ulberg. The votes are on Ulberg. You like Ulberg here?
I do, and here's the thing. I'm probably going to pick Ulberg until he does fight a wrestler, because that's the thing. On the feet, with his feints, with the dynamic just striking of Carlos Ulberg, he's going to give these guys a lot of trouble. And the fact that, and you had mentioned it, right, left. People don't do same-side strikes all that much in MMA. It is a lot of left, right. That's how your momentum works. But when you do deal with these upper echelon kickboxers, really just strikers as a whole, they can go jab, right hook, into a left hook. Like, they can mix up their combinations and have combos that are very unorthodox for just a regular MMA striker to see. So I like Ulberg a lot in this fight. Although I will admit, it is hard to predict those pure kickboxers who are making their MMA transition.
The other thing about Kennedy, before we let you go, he has really good takedown defense. I mean, if we've talked about all of his fights, 4 of 10 were successful against him, 1 of 16, 0-0, 2 of 7, 78% takedown defense. If he can parlay that into a little bit of offense, you never know. Maybe. All the things are there, all the parts. It's like building a house out of Lego bricks. We just got to put them in the right places. And Kennedy's going places, but overall, I like Ulberg in this fight. Again, he beat my guy, Jay Kuhn. That means nothing, but you can find it on YouTube. It's a fun fight to go back and watch. But yeah, I've got City Kickboxing's Ulberg in this one. Matt's got Ulberg. Will Adesanya be able to do it? Will Kai Kara France be able to do it? We'll see what happens later on this card. It's a great one. 3 title fights at the top, of course, in your main event. Jan Błachowicz taking on Israel Adesanya. So Matt, as we always say, Fight Night Picks. Let's get into it.